Hey guys, Mr. Bouchard here, and we have Notice 9.3 erosion. A lot of people mix up the difference between erosion and weathering. One thing I want to let you guys know, weathering, the way I say to remember it, break it down. Alright, so if you remember that in your mind, it will kind of stick. Alright, so weathering, break it down. Alright, well, erosion is a totally different story. We live on the shoreline here on Long Island, so we know all about a beach erosion. All right. A lot of people, though, think it's the breakdown of the beaches. Well, it is in a sense, but it's the movement of sediment that's causing the breakdown of beaches. So when I think erosion, I want you guys to think movement of sediment. So basically the sediment is transported along the beach, either out into the ocean further or the sound, or down the shoreline. All right, so we're going to be looking at examples of that. So definitely along the shoreline. South shore of Long Island tends to have a lot more erosion because the ocean tends to get bigger waves, and bigger wave action will end up breaking down the beach even more so, moving more sediment all over the place. All right, so let's talk about erosion. All right, so erosion is a process by which sediments are picked up and transported to another place. And to kind of use one of my favorite songs by the Red Hot Chili Peppers, take it away, take it away, take it away now. All right, that's the way you can think of erosion. All right, so just little things to kind of stick in your head. So weathering, break it down. Erosion, take it away, take it away, take it away now. All right. Agents of erosion are things that cause Earth's surface to be eroded. On the Earth's surface, the most dominant form of erosion is going to be running water. All right, whether it be a stream, a river, rainwater, even when it's heavy, will erode the soil definitely. Wind also can move smaller sediment large distances. All right, so that definitely happens a lot, especially in dry climates. All right, ice, glacier, obviously colder climates, flowing ice, which we'll talk about, picks up sediment of all sizes and is able to move them large distances over time. Gravity, landslides, sediment moving down slope. All right, so gravity pulls things downhill, and again, that can cause major damage, actually. So I'll put some links to some videos on that. And then ocean waves, definitely living on Long Island here, anywhere along the shore, definitely you'll know about erosion of the beaches. And then man, all right, we actually do destroy the landscape also, and we'll talk about the different ways that we actually sculpt the landscape and change it for the permanently, basically. All right, there is a brain pop video. I put the link here for you guys so you guys can watch that on your own account. Okay, so again, you could use your Google account to log in for that. All right, glaciers are flowing ice or snow that stay frozen all year long. So that's one of the ingredients, or one of the things that has to be true to make it fully a glacier. All right, so glaciers have to be frozen all year long. One thing that we see in our area here, carried by the glacier, glaciers can actually carry the biggest of sediment, including boulders. So these boulders are super heavy. All right, the only thing that can carry them in terms of erosion definitely is going to be a glacier. All right, rivers don't have enough carrying capacity usually to be able to carry a boulder. They can move them a little bit, but they don't really usually budge something this big. All right, so glaciers definitely can move all size sediment. And again, what happens with a glacier, flowing ice or snow, it's going to go downhill, and it's going to pick up all sediment like a bulldozer and bring it downhill. Ocean waves, beach erosion by sediment transport. So again, you have these areas that kind of stick out in the shoreline sometimes. These typically are going to get eroded more so. because the shoreline will continually try to flatten out basically, and what will happen is all the wave action will kind of refract or bend towards those headland areas. Okay, so again, there will be a lot of erosion on the edge here. If you come back next year in this area, you would probably see that this would be gone probably for the most part, or shifted down the beach a little bit. All right, so definitely sediment transport will happen. And each year, we continually hear on Long Island and most of the eastern seaboard, because of all the erosion, they have to constantly move sand around with bulldozers, especially in the springtime after the winter waves. The winter waves here on the East Shore tend to be the largest of the year. What do ocean waves do to headlands? So again, I mentioned headlands. Anything that sticks out, the waves will refract or bend towards those headlands, and that's where erosion will happen the most. Bays or areas that kind of sink in like this, that's where deposition will happen, and eventually that shoreline will flatten out. And this will keep happening over and over again, and it's kind of like a push and shove type of thing. It's never going to fully flatten out, but you'll end up having, like I said, areas that are constantly breaking down or deposition happening in other places. Okay, anybody that's been to the beach here, especially the ocean, knows about there's a current that usually goes across the beach. All right, and if you're swimming in the water, after a while, you have to get out of the water and then kind of walk back to where your umbrella was or your beach towel, and then get back in the water again. All right, that was the longshore current that's causing you to drift down the beach. And it's from the waves coming in on an angle. And typically sediment transport will happen in that direction. Okay, so the wind and waves will kind of push that water that way, and obviously the current is going to carry sediment down the beach. All right, now, areas where you have a bay sticking out, you'll end up getting these kind of sandbars that first form, and if they get big enough, they'll form what's called a spit. So a spit comes out of the water, and you can see it kind of makes a sheltered bay here, or harbor, which we tend to see on Long Island quite a bit. All right, so definitely sediment transport down the beach will make these little piles of sediment happen, and then you'll end up getting things like that forming. All right, wind erosion. So here's some ripple marks in the sand, may have caused by the wind blowing. Sand dunes also. All right, you can see here the formation of sand dunes. You have wind will blow the sand around to make it pile up in that way. All right, and they'll ask you some questions, which way is the wind blowing? The wind will always blow up the gentle slope, and then there's a back side of the dune that will collapse like here, and this will be steeper on the other side. All right, if you ever go to the beach, you can actually go right on the back side of the dune here, okay, next to the dune. You won't feel the wind, and if you climbed up on top of the dunes, which you shouldn't anyway, sorry, you'll break down the dunes if you do it. But I've done it before. I know it's kind of a rebellious thing, right? But you walk up the dunes, and then you feel a blast of wind in your face. All right, because basically there's a windward side of the dune, and then a leeward where there's less wind blowing. So we'll talk more about that soon. All right, man-made erosion. So examples, mining definitely is a big one. So here's a mine here on the side of a hill. And you can see it definitely destroys the landscape. You can see the areas of green, and then you see the exposed rock. And we talked about exposure allowing weathering happening more rapidly. So definitely we cause that. We're also harvesting stuff underground, so we dig out certain areas and scrape the surface to get to those. Also deforestation, right? So prior to this mining, there might have been a forest here, but they found stuff underground. They're going to take out the trees. Also animals, livestock. Sometimes we let them eat too much of the vegetation. If they overeat the area, you'll end up having like a desert kind of form, right? Because all the vegetation won't rebound, basically. Also construction. So we tend to clear land to construct more buildings or make cities or expand cities. So definitely we have an effect on that. Poor farming techniques. In some areas, just to quickly get a farm going, they'll slash and burn, right, a forest. And that actually destroys the landscape also in the process. So these are all things that we do. We affect the area, and so we definitely erode the soil. All right, landslides or movement of sediment caused by gravity. I am going to post a video of this. It's very dramatic, all right, and I never knew until I saw this video how crazy these things can be. So mud underneath, right, a lot of rainfall, and what can happen, a whole mountainside can collapse. So people in California especially see things like this happening, where you have the steep sides of mountains or landscapes, and you get heavy rainfall, and then it ends up going downhill by gravity. So here's the landslide that happened here right in New York City. This is in the Bronx, Cross Bronx Expressway. A wall collapsed. So that's much what can happen also on hillsides. All right, so you can see maybe heavy rainfall caused this, and over time the wall weakened and then collapsed. All right, so evidence of erosion. What we look for, if sediment's been moved from its source or parent rock, it doesn't match the surrounding rocks. We also have transported material having distinct properties that indicate certain agents of erosion. So I'm going to show you those in a moment. Okay, so the first thing, streams tend to have sediment that is rounded and smooth. So the more rocks tumble around in a river, the longer it's eroded, the smoother or rounder it becomes. Right? It's really neat. If you ever do go to a river upstate or in somewhere across the country, pick up the rocks. They feel like so smooth. They don't have any sharp edges anymore. So the more the rocks move in there, the smoother they become. Valleys eroded by streams are also V-shaped. All right, so you can see the steep sides. The middle part is getting eroded downward, and that's a V-shaped valley left by a stream. All right, wind also can do frosted and pitted surfaces to the surface of the rock. All right, so that definitely happens in wind situations because of sandblasting. So again, you can get kind of grooves in the rock from basically sandblasting continually in a certain area. Also, we get these kind of shapes. The area of the country called the Badlands. You'll see examples in the book where it looks like an hourglass shape, or the arches. Those are caused by wind gouging out large sections of sediment and then leaving that void. Glacier, sub-rounded, that means partially rounded, and scratched, all right? Because glaciers pick up everything, and they're bulldozers, they scratch the bedrock down below. So they leave what's called glacial grooves or striations. And valleys eroded by glaciers are also U-shaped. So the glacier kind of takes out that V shape and makes it wider and more flattened at the bottom. So again, that bulldozer kind of does that. All right, so the bulldozing of the glacier, that's the way I like to think of it. And here's what happens to the bedrock. You get scratches in the rock, and it will tell you which way the glacier moves. So we're going to go over that more when we talk about glaciers in more detail. All right, gravity also makes things sharp and angular because again, when you have a landslide, stuff just tumbles downhill. It doesn't have much time to smooth out those large sharp edges, so it will stay angular and keep its regular shape after it breaks. All right, so here again is a landslide caused by gravity. That's a sand dune, so that's wind erosion. That's beach erosion, again caused by the ocean waves, and also longshore currents that basically come along the beach. And that's man-made erosion, that's a mine. All right, so just reviewing some of the stuff we just talked about. And that's a glacier. Again, gets pulled downhill, this ice, and in the meantime it bulldozes or pulls all the sediment downhill with it. All right, and that's it for erosion. All right, we're going to continue with stream erosion next time.